put more money in your pocket, then join me, Clark Howard, every weeknight at 6, right here on WOCA, The Source.
WOCA.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
Told you this morning that you will love this half hour that we're beginning right now. On the phone is Michael J. Daugherty. He is the son of 2 Detroit City police officers. I love that. I have that in common. Not Detroit, New York. My father was a police officer. My mother was the wife of a police officer.
Yeah.
Michael Daugherty is also the founder and CEO of LabMD, which is a cancer detection laboratory based in Atlanta. And wait till you hear what's in this book, The Devil Inside the Beltway, the shocking expose of the U.S. government's surveillance and overreach into cybersecurity, medicine, and small business. You know, I am so paranoid about this overreach in cybersecurity. This is no joke. When I do the news in the morning, just a little background on how I do the news, I do it from home. And then I email it to myself. And in order so that when I get here and I look at my email, I know which story is which, I am very careful about what I put in the subject box. Because if I put the word terrorism or anything like that, I'm always afraid, or bombs or anything like that, I'm always afraid that some red flag is going to go up in somebody's office and they're going to be trailing me just because I'm doing a news story and have no ill intent at all. Michael Daugherty, you have caught all of our attention. By the way, the bottom of the book, on the, I guess the subtitle you call it, The Shocking Expose. Oh, I read that already, didn't I? Medicine and Small Business. Which medicine would have affected Michael? Michael Daugherty, good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you, sir?
Pretty good. Are you in Atlanta right now?
I'm in Atlanta. I just got back from D.C. yesterday. I've had 3 weeks of Australia, Los Angeles, and D.C., and I am home, sweet home.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, nice.
Australia. That's a long time in an airplane, isn't it? Australia?
Yeah, it is. It is. But it was really amazing down there. They really embraced the topic, so it's cool.
Really? Are they as suspicious of our government as we are?
Well, it's funny. I think the media there goes deeper. I think they have more time and more intellectual curiosity. Here, our media is in such a rush. It's like they live on Twitter and react. They don't find the story and dig, and we pay the price. So there I was down in Australia, and I had more time with media. They would do things like actually read the book. They'd really do background work, you know, and it was amazing. And it's kind of disheartening, but I've learned a lot. You know, some things I didn't want to know, but it's been quite a ride.
Oh, really? So give me an idea of where the idea for the book started. I mean, you've got a lot of stuff in this book, and I'm guessing there was more than you have in the book. You must have had...
Oh, yeah, I'm actually working on the second book called The Politics of Crime, which is the follow-up to the book. But to give your listeners a little quick background, because it's about 7 years, I'll cram into 30 seconds here, is I worked in medicine for years in surgery as a device rep, and then I started my own company as a cancer detection laboratory, which I was a CEO and founder, and called LabMD in Atlanta. And we diagnosed cancer. And one day, it's a private company, small, only focusing on prostate cancer and bladder cancer, and doctors from all over the country would Federal Express in the tissue and the blood, and we'd analyze it because we were very customized. Great business, very quiet, very small, you know, quality in our own world. And one day the phone rang, and a guy called and said he's with a cyber intelligence company. He's found 9,000 of our patients on a peer-to-peer network using file-sharing software, and he does remediation, and they'll be happy to help us solve the problem at $475 an hour. Now, when you work in medicine and someone calls you out of the blue and says they've got your stuff, you don't, you know, that's so weird. Immediately, you qualify them. And he wouldn't tell us any information about how they got it, the IP address, anything that is really easy to know unless we paid him, which was not how we roll in the world of medicine. So didn't trust him, recorded everything. The book opens with his emails to us because I want the reader to decide for themselves. This isn't a tell book, it's a show book, and you get to make up your mind who you think the good guys are and the bad guys. And then when we wouldn't hire him, he turned us over to the federal government. And also, I've worked with the government so much that I know if someone calls the government, there's immediate reaction. There's a prior relationship between that person and the government. So the fact that the government called us and started investigating us convinced me that they'd been working together. And at the time, I think my lawyers thought I was crazy and they thought I was a conspiracy theorist. Because keep in mind, this is before Snowden, this is before Assange and WikiLeaks, and before all these breaches. This is 2010, and the company first called us in 2008. So I had to sort of swim upstream alone for a long time, and then the Federal Trade Commission started investigating us, and I learned about all the rights we don't have, and how the Congress from a century ago created these agencies. And when you get snared in an agency, they have their own courts, their own investigators. They have no separation of powers. It's stunning. You can't go to the courts to have them stop if they're being abusive, because Congress says you can't intervene till they're done. So they know that. So they rip you to shreds and intimidate you while you're in that temporary trap.
And in the meantime, is it costing you a fortune in defense fees?
Costing a fortune, and it's also ripping the psychological, I call it psychological warfare on the management team, because I founded the company and it's my ship. It's optional for them.
What was their interest in it? Why were they so insistent on destroying you? What was going on in their world?
You know, what they want, the Federal Trade Commission's a bunch of lawyers with no experience in the real world, and they are very limited in how they can sort of scare the business world into having good cybersecurity. So what they do is they get companies they find, and they make a big deal out of what they do to you, so that other companies will be afraid and have self-preservation motivation to quote-unquote comply as well. The problem is, and this is where it gets weird and people have to read it to believe it, they don't tell you what they want. There are no rules, there are no standards. They say you have to be reasonable, and they decide what reasonable is on a case-by-case basis, which means if you tick them off or you don't agree to things, they'll suddenly think you're not reasonable. And they get away with it because Congress and the courts give agencies discretion, and discretion is a legal term, and that means they get the benefit of the doubt in a huge way.
Wow.
So the balance of power is really not in your favor.
So did you, I don't know if I'm asking too blunt of a question, but did you ever feel defeated?
Well, you know, it's weird because you're the child of a police officer. You know, I grew up in a house where justice was expected, so I thought that was normal.
Yeah.
So when I got out into this world, I was outraged how members of the government weren't acting like the people that I met in my life that were involved in, I mean, I was surrounded by judges and lawyers and police officers. So, you know, growing up, and that was normal to me, and these people weren't acting like those people. These people were not dedicated to justice. They were dedicated to politics and manipulation, and it was.
Wow!
If I didn't feel defeated, I felt outraged.
That is terrible. You know, we grow up to believe, and we'll swear that this is the case, that most people are good, and if you have got a few bad apples, don't worry, because there's probably somebody else right in that same agency who you can talk to, who you can reason with, and they will be astonished that they've got such a bad apple among them. But it sounds like the whole group of them was bad.
It's a perfect storm. I mean, they're look. The problem is they're lawyers without experience in technology, so they don't know what they don't know, but they make a lot of money and they think they're saving the world. You're tying yourself in to their concept of how they're world saviors, and you know, they protect their own, and so it's a tough culture. It's a very bad culture there. And it's about to blow up all over them. But look, it's a kind of a freak odds that someone like me would get ensnared with them. I mean, usually they go after big corporations. Usually big corporations don't really care about justice. They just care about getting out. And they just write the check because they can. And I wasn't on some big principled thing, quite frankly. What the government wanted me to do was, without telling me what we did wrong, without telling me what we had to do right, they wanted me to agree to be audited by them for 20 years, which is going to cost my small company with 40 employees about $200,000 a year.
Wow.
But worse yet, they put press releases out saying that we've agreed to this. Now, that means that none of the surgeons in the country that work with my company, who would believe that I would sign something like that if I wasn't guilty? So who would then think that we were perfectly fine protecting their patients' data? So why would they use me if they don't think we're good protecting their data? So it was, I considered to be a death knell. And so unlike most other companies, I was going to get nailed just by the press release. Whereas a bad press release for Sony and Target, with breaches that, by the way, really happened, we have no parties that got out. We don't have any of that. And they're still open and functional and making a fortune. And that was just not our situation. They were using us as a head on the spike to intimidate the rest of the population.
All right, we have to take a little break. When we come back, I knew that this was going to be this great of an interview. Michael Daugherty is on the phone. His book is called The Devil Inside the Beltway. It's not fiction. It's the true story. The shocking expose of the U.S. government's surveillance and overreach into cybersecurity, medicine, and small business. Let's hope the FCC is keeping us on the air when we come back.
Yes.
Well, it's the TC, though. It's the Trade Commission.
I know, but it's the same beast with a different head.
It's true.
Yes.
Different head. All right, we'll be right back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. A flood watch is in effect for coastal counties through this evening. There'll be drenching showers and thunderstorms mainly in the afternoon today. Otherwise, variably cloudy, high of 83 to 86. Still thunderstorm this evening. Otherwise, some clouds with a low of 71 to 73. Tomorrow, partly sunny with a stray thunderstorm, a high of 86 to 88. Thunder shower mainly near the coast Sunday. Otherwise, partly sunny, high 88 to 91. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Maggie Johnson.
Ocala Aviation now has opportunities for flight instructors.
Wait, hold on, Brad. Is this correct? You're looking for instructors, not students?
Actually, we're looking for both.
Well, that's descriptive.
Well, I need flight instructors because we're now affiliated with a major university and can offer 4-year degrees. Plus, we're also approved to work directly with VA students.
Okay, so a degree in what, and what's a VA student?
Well, it's a bachelor's degree in aeronautics, which includes a commercial pilot's license, and there's financial aid available. By VA students, I mean veterans. They now have access to new benefits to pay for flight training.
Okay, so you have new opportunities for new students. What about the instructor side of it?
Well, with new students, we need more instructors.
Well, yeah, that makes sense.
So, if anyone out there is a flight instructor, I want to encourage them to come see me. And if they're not an instructor but have their commercial license, we can help them become an instructor.
So they get their instructor license and have a job too.
Exactly.
So you got a lot going on. The VA, the college, and now hiring instructors and future instructors too.
Yep. So now can we get the commercial started?
Already ahead of you.
Call Brad to get your adventure started today at Ocala Aviation, 861-7484.
If you're anything like I was, the thought of getting older was the last thing on your mind. But here we are. For me, it started slowly. The lack of energy, never being in the mood, and when I was, I could never perform at my best. I tried the pills and other treatments with minimal results, and all but given up on my sex life. Then, I found the doctors at New Male Medical Center. Wow, they made a new male out of me. Feel like I'm 25 again. I have renewed vigor, so much more energy, and no longer worry about my performance. New Male treated me like my situation was one of a kind, with a custom treatment plan that really works. I feel great. They can create one for you too. It does not matter if you suffer from low testosterone, erectile dysfunction, or just want to last longer. New Male will help you.
Call New Male Medical Center today at 352-404-4779. 352-404-4779. That's 352-404-4779. It will change your life. 352-404-4779.
All right, 12 minutes before 11 o'clock. You know, when I first started doing talk radio, which was in the maybe in the mid-'80s when I started doing radio, but then talk radio was like the early 90s, I guess. But when I first started doing this, I came in here, not to the station, but I came on the air with the naive thought that, well, I get the Constitution. Isn't that all I really need? I understand what the Founding Fathers were about. Isn't that all I need? And quite often I was blindsided by the fact that this is not the nation our Founding Fathers had intended it to be. And yet, I have hope that it still can be, or might still be at its core, although it doesn't sound like it. Michael Daugherty is on the phone. The Devil Inside the Beltway is the title of his book. And if you want to call in, you are welcome to do so if you want to chat with Michael. Michael, so are you right now in the middle of any cases at all?
Oh, yeah. This is the book. Look, the book ends when the government sued me. And what I want to do in that first book, the reason I wrote the book is because I saw the system as a complete stacked deck. That the government's got us in such a corner that as soon as they're finished with your funeral, then they run to the hospital. So you're dead. And the only way I could communicate to the world was outside the box with the book. And so that happened, and whoever thought that after the book hit, we had a whistleblower come out saying my allegations are true and the company lied to the government and the Federal Trade Commission and me. And they take files and they lie about where they are around the world, and they dupe you and scare you so that you'll hire them. That they lied about Obama's helicopter. They lied to the FBI. They lied to all these agencies. And that launched a House oversight investigation, because I gave the book to Darrell Issa before it came out, and they're watching this, but as soon as it was obviously something bigger than just me, then it popped. And it was a good thing I had tried to cultivate that relationship. Then we had the hearings and a congressional report, and then the Justice Department gave him immunity, a fascinating little internal battle and oversight with the Democrats not wanting to look at the forensic evidence on this. So they wouldn't vote to give the whistleblower criminal immunity, so justice came in and gave immunity. Amazing side stories that are really disheartening about, and actually caused my next book. I'm writing the book right now about what happened since, and it's called The Politics of Crime, because I'm seeing politicians ignore even the investigation of crime, and that is terrifying, and it's appalling. So, this road has taken me down more things that I really didn't need to know, but I think we need to know. And where we're at now is we just had closing arguments in the FTC court case, but it will continue to go on. And actually, we now have these bad actors that act like they're good actors, and the government's starting to be put in a corner.
Wow. I have to ask you who your heroes are so far, but let's, if you don't mind, take some phone calls from some listeners.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
All right, good morning. Thank you for calling and for waiting. You're on the air with Michael Daugherty.
Yes, good morning. Yes, there was a similar incident to this in the EPA, I guess about 25 years ago, where somebody in the EPA kind of, out of some sort of misguided religious zeal, went on to the private property of a timber company and distributed spotted owl feathers so that they could close the guy down.
Oh, wow.
And, he'll probably just about be getting out of Lewisburg now.
Oh, wow.
Well, and here's the big picture. No, I was going to say, here's the big picture about laying that evidence.
The timber guy down, and the timber guy took it to the limit and exposed the little. Okay, I
see the similarity. Thank you for the call, and I apologize for the talk over. I think there was a little delay, so you couldn't tell that he wasn't done, Michael. Go ahead.
No problem. Well, the big picture on this is what I've learned is that 100 years ago, when Congress started these agencies, I think the congressman then had the assumption that the agencies would be full of experts. And what's morphed is that they're full of lawyers that aren't experts. And lawyers, not all lawyers, but we know our opinion of lawyers in this country the last 20, 30 years, where they've become from a revered profession to somewhat of a mocked joke. And that's self-inflicted wound, if you ask me. And there's many, many wonderful lawyers, but there's a lot of exploitive people. And what I find in government is you have people that just don't have any experience in the world that they are trying to regulate, combined with a zealot behavior of saving the world. And they think because they're right that any means to the ends are okay. And I really don't speak about the Justice Department in this. I speak about these agencies, not so much the official people that really are trained investigators, but the secondary ones. This is where you see a lot of zealot behavior, and they violate the trust, and they violate the power they're given, and it's very incestuous and politicized, and the bureaucrats are the problem in this country, and that's why the problem is with these people that think government is the solution. We just have given them so much power. And there's no accountability unless you really
crazy.
Well, you have to do something crazy like write a book. I mean, people thought I was nuts.
But you're fighting back, and writing the book is the best thing you could have done to fight back.
Right, but you have to be very careful because when you write a book, you have to make sure it's not too extreme. You have to make sure you don't sound like you're crazy. You have to write it I wrote it like a novel because it's really important to be effective. If I just yell at the listener or yell at the reader or scream and yell in a temper tantrum, it doesn't work.
And didn't the other company involved, weren't some of the employees then all of a sudden on your side?
Yeah, that was the whistleblower that came forward was the guy that actually came into the computer and stole our information. And he's the one that blew the whistle, and he got criminal immunity, and he testified. And by the way, if anyone's really wonky and detailed, you know, my website's thedevilinsidethebeltway.com, and if you go to the blog and scroll down, you'll see the congressional report you can read. And the congressional report's interesting. It's written by Darrell Iss's staff, and it's 99 pages. But the first 3 pages, you'll get the whole thing, and then the whistleblower's testimony is there, and you just see it in black and white. It's actually riveting reading because you just think you're reading a movie script. I mean, how did this really happen?
Wow. So I wanted to ask you who the heroes are. I seem to recall early in the book there was a guy named Ben Wright. Am I thinking?
I talked to Ben Wright last night.
Nice.
So Ben is a lawyer that was the first guy that actually would come in and criticize the government, which most lawyers are terrified to criticize the government. And he was brave enough to do that, and he used science as a reason. He's just a lawyer, but he's a technology lawyer. And then he came in and said, "You've done nothing wrong. You're like everybody else." And then I have to say that Darrell Issa has been incredible. He's a lightning rod for controversy in D.C., I think, because he stands up to everybody, even within the Republican Party, and they get upset with him because he does that so much. He doesn't go along to get along too often. But in my case, he was driven, outraged, motivated, paid political price for it. So I wouldn't have been here without Darrell Issa. So many politicians give lip service and they look at you in that patronizing, they're so sorry. But when push comes to shove, the rubber never hits the road. And with Darrell Issa, the rubber hit the road, but big time. And a small business guy up there in Congress investigating, and I was testifying. I mean, it's, I wouldn't be here without Darrell Issa right now.
Wow. Let me get the information from you so that our listeners can buy the book. But before we do that, let me give away the copy that you sent to us. The book is called The Devil Inside the Beltway. I have a copy. It's a, what do we call this? It's not paper bag. It's a soft cover.
Yes.
Soft cover.
It's like a textbook soft cover, large book. The phone number, if you want to claim it, is 622-9622. I'll put your name on it and leave it here for you. And the rest of us have to go buy it. So real quickly, Michael, give us a website or other ways to get the book.
Yeah, okay, so the website's thedevilinsidethebeltway.com. The book's at Amazon and iTunes. Now, at Amazon, they just put the Kindle on sale for $5.99. There's ebook, hardcover, softcover, and there's an audiobook. So if you audiobook lovers are there, I had the audiobook cut about a year ago. And it's pretty good. So it's gotten great reviews.
Let me give this one away. Good morning. You've got the book. Who's this?
Ken.
Ken, do you know where we are, Ken?
Yes, I do.
Okay, it'll be waiting for you here at the station.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right.
Did you do the audio? Did you voice the audiobook?
No, I did not. I thought I need to have a professional, so I didn't. You got to surround people that know what they're doing. I thought I might swear too much, and they'd have to keep editing me.
And how is LabMD doing? Are you guys doing okay?
They closed us. Well, they drained us dry. We ceased operations a year and a half ago, and the company ceased operations. That's why it's such a battle.
Man.
So no, they drain. That's what they do. They are willing to destroy you, and so now that's why I sort of was willing to fall into the hot boil, and because I knew they had no choice. I mean they destroyed us, and it's all those people lost their jobs, and it's and the fact that they'll do that to a cancer detection company. I mean, my goal is to show people what these people are capable of. So stops.
It makes you wonder how many. It makes you wonder, like, how many people got out of politics because they were threatened, or it was just too much. Ross Perot comes to mind, and
it's insidious. But also, the scary thing now that I think that's applicable is our safety and cybersecurity. We have the wrong people controlling cybersecurity. These people don't know what they're doing. We need technologists and scientists, just like you need doctors in medicine. We don't need people that haven't,
Michael,
ever taken a course.
I think your work is outstanding. I think you are a hero for doing it. Thank you for being on the air with us today.
Oh, good talking to you. Thanks so much.
We'll be right back.
Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. The Trump campaign caught up in another controversy after a man at a town hall meeting says that President Obama is a Muslim and not an American.
Hillary Clinton took to Twitter to say the Republican not denouncing false statements about the president and hateful rhetoric about Muslims is disturbing and just plain wrong.
Fox Radio's Rachel Sutherland. Trump's campaign out with a statement saying Christians need more support in this country and that their religious liberties at stake. 11 GOP presidential candidates looking for some face time at the Heritage Action